You can use categories and labels to easily find, view, and compare only the apps that are meaningful to you. You can also use categories and labels to see an at-a-glance comparative health status. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to use, create, and remove categories and labels in order to organize your APM data. Labels and categories are a powerful way to organize your data and easily sort, group, and filter your apps using the New Relic UI. By grouping your apps into specific categories, you can find, view, and compare only the apps that are meaningful to you. You can also see a comparative health status for categories and the apps within the categories at a glance. This is especially helpful if you have a lot of apps listed on the APM index page. Here I am on my APM index page. I can use my existing categories and labels by clicking in the search bar. I can also turn the category and label display on to see what apps already have categories and labels applied. To do this, I'll simply click the Show Labels toggle to on, and now I can see my existing categories and labels. I can also click in the search bar to open a drop-down list showing my existing categories and labels. From here, I can use a specific search term to find my apps. I can click one of the categories or labels listed in the drop-down, or I can select the name of a specific app. Since the drop-down list may not show all the options, I can also start typing something to pull up a more specific list. Notice that when I select a category, all apps that are labeled with that category are grouped or rolled up by the labels within that category. Each label group shows me the total number of apps assigned to that label within that category. If I have set up alerts for the apps, I can also see the number of apps with a color-coded health status of red, orange, or green. Any apps not associated with an alert policy will not be counted in the health status summary. And if any apps in the category are not reporting data, the color bar will include gray. I can view each group of applications by either clicking the toggle arrow next to the number of apps, which opens the list, or I can click on the label itself to view only the apps in that category with that label. Adding categories and labels in the APM UI is pretty simple, and you can create as many labels and categories as you want. To do this, first make sure you have turned the category and label display on by clicking the Show Labels toggle. Then click the plus icon below any app to open a text field where you can type out your new category and label. Notice that as I type, I get suggestions for existing categories and labels. Once I see the one I want, I can just click on it to add it instead of typing everything out. Or I can keep typing to create a new one. However, before you start creating categories and labels, there are a few important guidelines I want to go over first. The format for a category and label is category:label. For example, here I have analytics:collector. When you create your category names and their values, be sure to only use letters, numbers, hyphens, or underscores. You won't be able to use spaces or any other special characters. Also, the first letter of any category and label must be capitalized. New Relic treats the colon, which is required, and any dashes, which are optional, as word breaks for changing case. This means if you want any letters other than the first letter of the first word in a category or label to be capitalized, simply include a dash. In this example, I have tier::front-end, where the dash makes the E in end capitalized. Any words following underscores, on the other hand, will change to lowercase. For example, if I typed tier::front_end with capitalization on the E in end, it would still be saved with a lowercase e. Finally, only the first letter of a word can be capitalized. This means you won't be able to use capital letters to differentiate words. For example, if I created the label tier::front-end with no dash, New Relic will automatically save it as tier::front-end, again without the capitalization on the E in end. Don't worry about capitalization if you're just searching, however. You can search using uppercase or lowercase letters. You can remove or unassign a label from an app in the APM UI. To do this, first turn the category and label display on so you can see the existing categories and labels. Then, simply click the X next to the label you want to remove. Removing a category and label from an app in the APM UI only unassigns it. It will persist in your account and still be available through search. This means you can easily reassign the category and label by clicking the plus icon and searching for the category and label you want. If you do want to permanently delete a category or label, you will need to use the API to do this. I'll go over how to do this using the REST API Explorer in the next tutorial. Just a quick note here that while anyone who has access to a New Relic APM account can use existing categories and labels to sort, filter, and group apps, in order to create or delete categories and labels, you must be the account owner or admin. And access to the REST API depends on your subscription level. Now that you know how to organize your APM data with categories and labels, take a moment to plan out how you want to group, sort, and filter your apps. Identify the categories and labels that you will need to add or create, and then try it out.